Hello everyone and welcome back to Leadnap Gaming. It feels like a month ago CIG gave us the new Spirits, because they did. I had hoped to get this out closer to the announcement, but life is life, yet there is still some time to get enough subs to release this Odyssey into someone's hangar. Your odds are better than that lotto jackpot which I didn't win, so subscribe if you haven't, and comment. Enough with all that though, let's talk about the new Spirit. Now, this ship concept is the sort of thing CIG needs to make the spirit of the game's development. I think it's a fantastic ship, and even though the concept period's behind us, fear not, because IAE is right around the corner, and you'll have your chance to put one in the stable, or perhaps remove it. But I thought you said I did. I love this ship. However, the very things that make it great make it worth not having in your hangar, probably. Let's start with the elephant in the room. The Spirits really don't bring anything to the table you can't access otherwise. The C1 is a cutty black, just with finished wall panels, a toilet, probably, and some sleek modern lines. I could stand on my soapbox for an hour talking about how I love that we're getting trade-nothing options with different looks. Plenty of creator might say that looks don't matter, but if we're really honest with ourselves, most of the ships in our hangars are there because we think they're cool. And some ships that are not there because we don't like them. So I certainly want to see CIG continue this trend. I would love to see a Hurk that loses the cargo floor and features bulk carrier ability like the Argo Raft. I want to see a Drake version of the Connie. Oh wait, we're getting that too. An RSI version of the Cat would be cool. The Taurus is almost, but not really one-to-one, which, sure, the Corsair isn't either, and a Hurk would carry more connexes than a Raft. Some slight feature trade should be fine, but I really like the idea of a reskinned ship. Options abound, and that never hurts the community. It brings into focus another strong selling point for the Spirit as well: production. We've known all about CIG's system of unified resources for manufacturers that the shipbuilders construct like Legos. The upside for the Spirit is, generally speaking, nothing new has to be developed for the ships to enter the verse, just like the Polaris and Perseus. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. CIG's ability to produce these ships without much extra man-hours is a huge bonus. The worst thing Star Citizen could get is more ships that are concepted, but not in-game. Of course, this doesn't really apply here once you get past first looks. Only one of the 3 ships could readily be thrown into the verse with a quickness. The A1 bomber version will need added dev time to develop the bomb bay. And the E1, which is the most important of all, needs a whole freaking game loop to be built first. Which is the biggest reason that this ship line probably won't stay in your hangar if you already put them in. And the reason if you haven't, you might still. The only Spirit that matters is the E1 VIP passenger version. I know, some of you shelled hard for the more expensive A1, but hear me out. Despite the ability for CIG to introduce the Spirits into actual production and release them in-game with ease, they have no reason to. The C1 is a cutty black. We've covered that, but if you want what the C1 brings, you can go fly one with different looks right now. Ground warfare isn't really fully there yet, hence meltdowns by major content creators about the one-sidedness of certain aspects. The A1 doesn't bring anything to the table that balances that out. Rather, it just increases the imbalances. So the only reason to put the Spirit in verse is the E1. It's the only one that does something no other in-game ships do: passenger transport. Likewise, not only are there no ships in the game that do that yet, but the other ships that do are larger and set to take on later iterations of that game loop. The Spirit is the Tier 1 passenger ship. It's the one they're going to build to demo the ideas and introduce the style of play. Which also means you won't see the Spirit of any stripe until passenger gameplay is ready to go. I know, Captain Buzzkill over here, yet odds are you won't notice anyways. Again, we already have the A2 in Cutty Black. You might not have an A2, but they exist, and will continue to be the bane of JT streamers. Which is exactly why they're not worth having in your hangar now anyways. It isn't Crusader, but we've flown the Cutty for years. You won't really notice using one for now instead. Where the C1 is concerned, the only reason to own a C1 is you like Crusader better than Drake, who's about to be the new hotness for a while with the Corsair coming out. The A1 should be a big pickup, especially for me, a guy who loves ground attack aircraft and insists on owning a bomber for sentimental heritage reasons alone. Except I own an A2, which can do a bunch of things besides bombing that the A1 will never. I still believe the A2 is a massive waste of money for the average player. Again, I'm running on sentiment here. But if you're going to own a bomber, better to own the bomber that does more than be a bomber. Think about your hangar spend like salary cap. Sure, you could pick up a bomber for less now, and size 5 is nothing to laugh at. But my daily cargo driver has 10 inches. I mean, size 10 bombs. Look, it isn't the size that matters, but the motion of the cargo ship. If you say so. During CitCon, I wanted to grab all 3. Who didn't? But talking it through with orgmates, I just couldn't justify very much at all. The C1 is great as a cuddy, but if you own an MSR, the C1 is a horrible choice. It has a fraction of the cargo space and lacks every other metric the MSR brings to the table aside from price. And if you were baller enough to grab the A1 and C1, you can't really say price was a factor. What does that mean though? Well, if you're watching this, you're one of 2 types of Star Citizen player. Either, like me, you've been around a while and have probably an unhealthy number of ships in your hangar. A C1 would be worth it if you didn't have a insert ship name here. The A1 is a screaming deal except you have an A2, or bombing is overrated, and it isn't like we're going to see the A1 for a while anyways. For you, the Spirits are awesome. They're a step in the right direction by CIG, and the hype train probably has you all excited to grab them up. Though chances are, if they're not already, they'll be in the buyback bin by the end of this video, or IAE, pick one. The other player is the new player, for who the Spirits really represent the most. The C1 is only worth it if the Cuddy is the ceiling of your present ambitions. No, it isn't out yet, but the Loner Cuddy Black is the same thing as, well, buying the Cuddy Black instead. So this way you get an LTI ship that'll someday be a cooler Crusader ship without sacrificing any of the gameplay today. There really isn't a good reason to buy an A1 right now. Most people can't fly the Freelancer Miz correctly anyways, and by the time the A1 can drop its stick of size 5s, bombing may be out of vogue. There's no reason for a new player to buy an A1 because they'll get nothing out of spending that money now. And if money is no thing, you have an A2. Alas, the E1 is king for both player types, though again, it's a long-term investment. Passenger play has the potential to be a major economic option, and given which individuals at CIG are most excited about that game loop, there's a decent chance after salvage this is next in the pipeline. Still, probably not worth the investment. The Spirits will certainly be an affordable in-game ship. So, did you grab one up? Let me know in the comments which one and why. Make sure to share this video with your friends, like and subscribe if you haven't, and I will catch you all next time.